same way that I would do a training session. So this is via valve. It's got the little chevrons on the packages here. And when you open it, again, when you're pulling away, and that points to the end that opens. When you take that off, when you take it out of the package, the first thing you'll see is this little, that flat section on the top of the cap. When that flat section's up, when I take that cap off and you pull straight away, that's going to tell you the tab's up. This tab's up tells you the bevel of the needle's up. So this is your bevel indication, or bevel orientation. The needle itself is very sharp. What they did is they did a V-point needle, so it cuts instead of forcing a hole into the vein. They cut it side to side, and they cut it flat to get that V-point. So if you're going from the competitor, again, it's going to be a really sharp insertion for you. The next thing, they put a valve in here. So this little valve, and this is only on the lower gauges. On the 18 gauges and up, you're not going to see it. But there's a flash view window that's going to be here, and you'll see blood here first. That gives you early vein entry confirmation. Once you see that blood, then you drop your angle down. Blood is still going to continue to the flashback chamber back here. So you get blood initially here, and then it'll come back here. The hub itself is longer. For those of you that have used Protective before, they made it this longer so it was easier to hold on to. They also made it ribbed for your gloved fingers to hold on to. Again, push off tab here, and then the flashback chamber here. Grip pads are where your fingers hold on to. And the way that it works, for those of you that don't know, the tab controls the catheter. So if I push that tab, then I'm advancing the catheter into the vein. That's what I'm going to use to get the catheter into the vein. The other thing is the little grip pads here on the side, those control the needle. So you've got two moving pieces. The tab controls the catheter, grip pads control the needle. And that's the way the system works. To do your insertion, typically is anywhere from 25 to 30 degree. Can I have a flash view when I grab an 18?
Oh, wait, here's one.
Thank you.
Oh, you can open it for you.
So to do your insertion, again, usually about 25 to 30 degrees, IV technique, according to the patient. You get in, you get flash, you're going to get, again, the early vein entry confirmation. So flash here, but then you're going to also still see it coming back into this chamber. Tiny push, and what you're doing there is making sure the catheter's seated in the vein. You'll get blood from the very tip of that needle, that sharp needle, but you have to push just a little bit more of the entire system to make sure that the catheter's in the vein. From this point, the fingers in the back stabilize that needle. So the piece that's holding the grip pad, I drop down to the patient, let my fingers be stabilized so the needle doesn't move. The only thing I'm doing now is coming behind that tab with my index finger. If I'm doing one-handed insertion, I do it by the index finger. Two-handed insertion, I'm going to bring my thumb over. And my thumb would come behind that push-off tab and then thread that catheter into the vein. Once I've done that, keep your finger on that tab, pull back and click. The click tells you the needle's locked out so nobody's going to get stuck with it. The disconnect on this one is much easier for those of you that have used Protective before. You know how you used to have to twist it to disconnect. This one you can literally do a one-handed disconnect. So just holding that hub and then disconnecting. It should be that easy. So the valve is in place, and with that valve in place, that was the other big enhancement that they did from Protective to this piece, is they put a valve in the hub of the catheter. That valve is keeping the blood so you don't have blood leaking all over your field. So it protects you. You don't have those bloody messes. You don't have to use trucks and all that nice stuff. With the valve, though, it is a one-time valve, which means that once it's accessed, then you'll have to do digital pressure if you attach a syringe to a blood draw, or if I were attaching an extension set, an administration set, whatever I access and open that valve, then if I'm going to disconnect any of that, again, digital pressure. And digital pressure is going to be distal to the insertion point by the size of the catheter length. So if it's 1 inch, somewhere out here. When you access it with the extension set, this is a really important piece. The extension set with the male lure. Slip tip, if you think about it, a valve is going to give you a little bit of a pushback. On your extension sets with the male lure, always make sure that this collar is pulled back as far as you can so that the nose is well exposed. And then you're going to take that, and again, yeah, you can't do this one demonstrating up in the air, but you're going to push it into place firmly so it's well seated, and then pull your collar up to secure it. And that's how it works. So two different methods, but still